When you play a game for a long enough period of time, you start to become attached to it. Especially if it was part of your childhood. I played a bunch of games that even to this day still leave me with fond memories. One of my favorites is a little game named Wizard101. While it's not a perfect game, it has a lot of positives for a kid's game made in 2008. What sold me was the different worlds you explored while progressing through the game. All of them stand out for something unique. Whether it be for the beautiful landscapes or ball-busting difficulty, we take something out of each world we visit. So today I figured I should do a top 5 of my favorite Wizard101 worlds. Now in this case, I won't judge a world on how difficult the quests are. This is because some worlds are deemed terrible just because of the types of quests you had to do. I don't find that very fair for judging a world. A world should be judged on how it makes you feel, not by quests that don't give a world atmosphere. With all this said, here is Text-to-Speech's top 5 Wizard101 worlds. Let's start off with number 5. Being only the second world in this game, this means that I can enjoy this world more often when I'm constantly starting new characters. Now of course there's more to it than that. Being a part of the first arc storyline means that it's one of the oldest worlds in the game. It's almost like visiting your favorite city, it always puts a smile on your face whenever you see it again. This world takes the Egyptian look with its pyramids, pillars, and of course, sand. Sounds riveting, I'm sure. Luckily, it has some interesting locations that are based on real-life structures and even people. I always find that very sneaky of them to try to add history to a fictional world. And I love it. You don't need to know a ton to get the references. Just a little beginning world history helps. Now while this is a great world, my main problem with it is that it's really short. Now if you are replaying it, of course, it will seem that way. If you try hard enough, you can beat this world in a day. Special attention should go to the Temple of Storms for having the shortest length of any part in any world. You can beat this part in about 1 to 2 hours. Even then, that's not too bad of a problem, and even to some, it's a positive. I just wish more could be explored within this world. Maybe it's because it's the second world and the difficulty needs to be lowered for new players. Maybe it's because of my overall experience. It's probably both. Number 4. I have to admit, while this world is extremely beautiful, it was a big jump in difficulty at the time. With this world came critical hits, critical blocks, and new spells. So of course to people, this was a big change to the game as a whole. One of those changes being a new villain. This would change how the story would play out and overall affect the mood of the game from that point on. This is a good change in my opinion. In fact, the reason why I love this world isn't the new villain, but the new world. This is one of the most diverse worlds out there. It goes from a tropical jungle, complete with natives and even a talking waterfall, to an empire ruled by crustaceans. Science centers to underwater caverns. There is no shortage of personality to this world. It's all topped off with some of the most beautiful locations dealing with water in this game. And how could I forget Waterworks? This dungeon is arguably the most important next to Darkmoor. So many people at level 60 go inside to try to claim the prize of the best gear that will last for a long time. The only thing is that if you want to do Waterworks, you have to complete the entire storyline in Crab Alley. Now if you are like me and don't like doing things that seem pointless at the time, then you are going to have to sit there and beat the Crab Alley story way later than you should have. Which is time consuming. And just so you know, Waterworks isn't an optional part of the story. So it doesn't fall into the questing rule. So I can say that Crab Alley really makes it a pain to get to Waterworks. But if there is one thing I can say is a negative about this world and all other worlds from now on, is the inclusion of Myth having the card Myth in. I hate that spell with a passion. Almost as much as I hate Avalon. Oops, did that slip out? What I meant to say was. Number 3. This world, like Crocotopia, is a part of the first arc storyline. In fact, This world comes right after Krokotopia. So the transition between worlds doesn't put me in a sour mood. If anything, it makes me excited to keep playing. This world is based on the books of Sherlock Holmes. While I personally never read the books, I've heard just enough to get the basic premise. The world doesn't have too much of a mystery aspect going for it. If you know the basics of Sherlock Holmes, then you pretty much know who the villain of the world will be. But that isn't a bad thing. And speaking of the world, this makes me feel like I'm in the story. It definitely gives this world a spark of charm. In fact, this world feels like the movie The Great Mouse Detective. Both star animal versions of Sherlock solving mysteries. I even find a bit of irony with the villain in Marleybone being a cat while the villain in the movie is a rat. It also helps I'm a sucker for stories like this. While in a sense you can't call something like this beautiful, it's definitely charming and even a bit whimsical with the right mindset. It is the best of the first arc worlds. But once again there are some problems with the world, although I call them nitpicks. First is they changed most of the voices from the characters. Now they did this in previous worlds, but I can tell it changed in this world the most. Characters like Timmy Icepick sound so off compared to the original voices. The only voice I think changed for the better is Baxter. He now has more of an accent instead of a mobster tone and I like that. The other problem is actually the same problem from Krokotopia, the world is too short. Without doing almost any of the side quests, a person like me can finish this world in a day. And once again, they're nitpicks. They really aren't problems. And I stand by this being the best world of the first arc. The amount of late 1800s charm makes this world one of the best in the game. Number 2. At the point of this top 5 I haven't beaten Polaris. But so far it's amazing. Being the first real winter world, it's a really good way to kick off the third arc. This world takes place during the always fun Revolution story. In a nutshell, polar bears take over the town full of penguins. The penguins are slowly constructing the revolution to take back their town. Along the way we meet a colorful cast of characters from an old witch to a circus bear named Ivan the Great/Terrible. I love the characters in this world. They feel like they have some purpose to the story and some even take part with you in the story. The visuals are unbelievable. They really make you feel like you're in the snowy country of Russia without it being in Russia, obviously. Unfortunately, I can't say much seeing as I haven't beaten this world yet. But I can tell you that it deserves this spot on my list. This is also why Mirage isn't potentially on this list. I haven't beaten Polaris, so why would I put Mirage on there? And my number 1 favorite Wizard101 world is Jumbo. If most of you are surprised that this world took the top, well that just makes this top 5 more interesting, doesn't it? On a serious note, this world gets such a bad rap by most for the reason why I put the no quest rule. Even after the quests got easier, it still, for most people, was a slog to get through. And I would be lying if I didn't feel the same way. Although if you look past the outrageous quests, this is the most beautiful, most cultured, and in my opinion, the best world in Wizard101. Now I used a term I haven't yet used in this top 5 at all yet, cultured. It is full of so much African culture that it almost hurts, but in the good way. The way the characters look, act, and basically exist all feels like it was from some African story. I also mentioned that the world looks stunning. It makes me feel happy wherever I go. I could go to the savannah and stare at that sunset forever. The towns feel very much like a town in Africa would look. Even the graveyard feels like it's full of spirit in a place full of spirits. Never does one area look out of place to take you out of the mood. It all fits together so well. I also have to give special notice to the soundtrack. My word, does the music fit extremely well. In fact, it's my favorite soundtrack in all of Wizard101. Some of my favorites are the main theme, Savannah theme, and the battle theme. In almost every single top 5, top 10, top whatever, this world is probably below number 5. And that's a crying shame. From when I first started this world, I remember it being nothing too special for me. But when I replayed it and took time to listen to the music, dialogue, and even some of the animal noises, it took me to a whole world filled with so much culture and charm, that I couldn't help loving this world. Now, do the quests really eat up your time and feel repetitive? For sure. But do they have any form of spirit, culture, charm, beauty, or even, dare I say, whimsy? Hell no. And that was my top 5 favorite worlds. If you enjoyed my list, or got pissed off when I said I hated AWHILE, please write a comment on what your favorite world is and why. This is text-to-speech saying have a grand day.